Yo, what's going on, guys? Tony here. Welcome back to another video. Now, this is going to be something slightly different. Obviously, it's going to be a discussion video based on the title. You can see that. I've kind of been enjoying doing these discussion videos lately just to kind of see what your guys' feedback on everything is. So, this one, as you can tell by the title, is Was Arcade Mode a Giant Flop for For Honor? Now, I say this in the sense that they didn't really actually hype it up that much when releasing the actual Marching Fire, but then they did say stuff, it's like got infinite replayability. It's going to be something that's just that a bunch of people are going to want to play. And honestly, I'll give my personal thoughts first, kind of about the mode, and then I'll kind of, say what I think could be improved from it. And with that question, honestly, I think arcade mode kind of has been a flop, honestly. I don't see too many people just, even on videos and stuff, I usually will make a video of like the weekly quest, and people seem to enjoy watching it, but I don't see too much content going up from it. I see a few people talking about it. At the same time, like a lot of people are just saying, yeah, it's okay for like maybe the first time, and then it just kind of loses its luster, and I can completely understand that. The one thing that I don't understand is they didn't promote it enough, but I kind of understand now, because it's like there's really not much to it, and the infinite replayability isn't the thing. It's like you play the weekly quests. Now I feel like a lot of people don't even do the random quests anymore. Everyone just wants to do the weekly quests because that's the area in which you can get the actual effect that they have out for it right now. But I don't see anyone just doing the random quests. And obviously I did it the first time when I did it. It's just because like the steel gain versus your time that you spend on it, with all these like weird modifiers, and then the bots being like out of this world, knowing every input you're about to make, can kind of be a bit annoying. And it's not just really worth your time when you could just play like a Dominion match or like a Breach match and you get substantially more XP and steel from it. So I'm not exactly sure what the whole idea with the arcade mode was. Looking on it right now, I think one of the biggest mistakes that came from arcade mode was actually putting it behind a paywall. I understand why it was behind a paywall with the expansion. It just gives another incentive for people to want to purchase the Marching Fire DLC when it came out. But at the same time, it just, obviously they want to make money as a company, and I can't say like, I can say they shouldn't have done it, but it doesn't really change the fact that they wouldn't have done it, because they have given out free content every week with like effects and stuff that you don't really have to pay actual money to do it. You just need to kind of play the game to grind up your steel. But I thought it was kind of weird that they made it to the fact that this mode was hidden behind a paywall if you want to play solo, but if you have a friend who has it, you can play with them actually. So it was like if I had a friend who had the arcade DLC, they could just invite me and we could still play it together. So if that's the case, I guess it was just a ploy to get maybe more people to purchase the DLC, honestly. And I think that one of the main things that could benefit for this is actually if arcade mode was free, and that probably isn't going to happen in the future, but that would be kind of the number one thing that I would like to see. I think putting it behind a paywall wasn't a really smart decision in the long run, just kind of based on how the whole thing is kind of played out. Not too many people are really just, itching for that arcade content and like, oh my gosh, I could play this all day. That's not really what it is. People don't like the randomness of it. One of the things that they've obviously toned it down a little bit. I didn't have too much trouble with the quest myself. That's because I'm a no life and I only play this game pretty much. And dealing with all the like random modifiers is one thing with them, like having to kill all the bots before or having to kill all the bots like with executions or something, or else they respawn. All that different stuff. It's just kind of a it's kind of the randomness to it is kind of more so annoying than it is like cool. It's just kind of like they just threw on these random things to make our lives more miserable in it. But when you actually look at it yourself, I mean, like that too, plus the bots, is why they've kind of had and I guess I wouldn't say an outlash, but the community kind of wanted them to tone it down a little bit. And I played the most recent one, which was, I think it was the one, the Ludi of Daubeny or something like that, where you had to play like a bunch of different knight characters in like the ring map. And honestly, that one was pretty easy. Honestly, the first one was like the hardest part, and I feel like there's sometimes like it's really difficult. Like they don't progress the difficulties up as you go through the arcade mode, so it's like that one, I felt like the first one, and a lot of people said the first chapter of that was honestly the hardest one to do. And then it just gets like, some of like the second one was really easy, the third one was really easy, the fourth one was a little bit more difficult than the previous two. But then it's just like, I don't know, I just feel that even with the bots, like if you nerf them only in arcade mode and stuff, obviously they won't be able to just parry your every input, which will be better for some more casual players of the game who want to get the effects and stuff. But it's just not, I say, worth the time and investment, obviously, because the other thing that I now want to bring up is that the effect is guaranteed on the first time you play the weekly quest, and then it's random. So obviously, if you start off with a new character, let's just say you play on, I don't know, Warden or something, and then you beat it and you get the idol animation for the Crimson Conquest effect, and then you have to play it a bunch of times. You still have to get the emote ones for the, I believe it gives it in both sections. Like it'll give you the free roam and the combat emote effect if you get it, and then you have to get the execution. And I've had many people on my comments on my actual arcade videos say that they played it about 11 times before they could do it. I'm sorry if you hear a train in the background, by the way. And that's just kind of in my opinion, that the fact that you have to do that, the fact that it's a little bit random, and a lot of the times it's it's pretty hard for you to get the effect on a character that you really don't have the gear score on. Obviously, like I did it once with Shigoki with less damage, which felt kind of crappy, but you can't go in there with like your Rep 1 Tiandi or something and try to beat it, because you'll take like 500 damage light attacks and you'll die instantly, which kind of sucks. But at the end of the day, it's quote unquote a legendary quest, but I kind of wish that people could still have a chance with taking in any character. I don't think like the damage value should be like decrease and increase that extreme, so that you can actually have a chance to get the effect with other people, because obviously I feel like at one point it's going to get rotated out the effect, and then obviously people would still want to be able to get it, and you might have picked up like a new main character or something, and then you might not be able to get it just because of that whole like gear score thing, recommendation, and then dropping off your damage and increasing the enemy damage. That kind of sucks. But the next thing that I think is the kind of one of the most frustrating things, at least I think for me, for the actual arcade weekly quests, not even talking about the random quests, just the weekly quests, is I feel like, what is this, the fourth week that we've had weekly quests? I'm not sure if it's going to be every single month that it gets updated, but having the same effect for the same, like, every single weekly quest so far, the Crimson Conquest, don't get me wrong, it's a cool effect. Like, it's pretty much Sulfuric Sparks, but red, and honestly like it a little bit better. It kind of makes me annoyed that I got Rep 60 for that Sulfuric Sparks when that effect's better, but that's a different discussion for a different time. And the fact that every week it's just like, oh cool, I feel like it would definitely get more people in there if they were able to update it a little bit more frequently. I know that they still have their content of the week, and you can't just drop the content of the week off the game and then just switch it onto the arcade modes, like lootable stuff like that, because one, people, you can just buy content of the week straight up usually, and that's a way for them to both make money if like people purchase steel packs. And then also not everyone has access to the arcade mode, so that wouldn't exactly work out, and then people would be pretty upset about that. But the frequency in which it changes, I feel, could be a little bit higher. I feel that it would be nice to maybe see, I don't know, every 2 weeks it changes, just because like having the same Crimson Conquest effect, I'm simply just playing it just to see, like, at the moment at least I am, to see what the modifiers are from each one, and like what type of characters I'm going to be fighting up against, rather than trying to go for these cool little lootable things. And I think that's what arcade should be around, is like these cool modified matches, but have some nice lootable effects, or even outfits. You could do ornaments in it. I know that that's a lot of things that they do for content of the week as well. Honestly, I haven't seen them do too many ornaments with the actual content of the week of recent, which I think, obviously if they do an outfit, then they will release ornaments with that. But I don't see a huge issue, like a lot of the times, with like faction war ornaments and stuff, that the fact that they're all the same, basically. I feel like you could create an ornament, or, some color schemes even that people could be able to get from it, because that a lot of that stuff you could get from tournaments, and not really anyone plays tournaments anymore, or ranked Just there's just not the player base for it, just because all the balancing stuff, people get kind of outraged at it. And I feel like if you transferred like some of the rewards that you would normally get for like ranked maybe into like an arcade, I think that would be pretty effective for the overall mode. But there's just one thing about it. It's just almost just like a one and done thing for me. That's kind of the annoying thing. You know, that quote gets thrown around that they said the infinite replayability, and I just don't see it. It's almost, I mean, you guys can let me know in the comments if you feel different about this, but honestly, with this game mode, it just doesn't feel like I could just sit down and play it like on a stream. Like I could go through it once and be like, all right, that's cool, we did the arcade quest, and now let's go back on to multiplayer, which, you know, obviously it'd be cool if we had like, if it was more of an expansive mode. It almost seems like kind of like a half finished mode, to where like there's not too much replayability and you have to wait each week for the quest to kind of be updated. And the quests don't really have, you know, too many differences from them, other than the fact that, you know, it might be on a different map and just some different modifiers and whatnot. But, you know, having the weekly quests I think is cool. And then I just wish that they would kind of update the effects and stuff. Let me just make a list, my top 3 things that I wish arcade mode would have done. And then you know, I still think it is kind of a little bit of a flop, but I know because most of the people purchased that DLC for Marching Fire anyways, for the characters plus Breach. But for this, the top 3 things that I think were kind of wrong with arcade were, 1, the fact that it's hidden behind the paywall. I feel like didn't really help the game in any sense. It just was like an extra incentive, I guess, for people who bought the game. The second thing is the fact that, you know, the effects don't really change at all. Like it's like not really it's not really like fun to keep trying to play the same thing to get the different effect. And the fact that it's confirmed on the first one and then random on all the other ones kind of makes it a little bit annoying for people who are trying to spend a lot of time to get all of the effects for their certain character. And then the final thing is that it really doesn't have that infinite replayability factor, as I said. And the fact that, you know, the time that you put in versus the XP and steel gain is not as great as it if you played just regular multiplayer. And honestly, you know, people have gotten upset at the bots and whatnot, and that's just all kind of pummeled up into this whole thing. But people seem to like watching it, which is kind of interesting. Like, because I could be completely in the wrong when I discuss this right here. So let me know if you guys actually think arcade mode is really good, and if you think there's anything specific that they could do for the mode to make it, you know, better for the community. You know, I know that they had been listening and they lowered the bots, so at least it's nice to see that they were listening to some of the community, you know, suggestions on this mode. But what do you guys think else needs to be changed for this to make it like actually a mode that people would like to play and people would be excited for the weekly quests? If you enjoyed this little discussion video we had right here, leave yourselves a like, comment, subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. As always, it has been your boy Tony. I will talk to you in the next one. Peace.